We hope you are well.
Yep, absolutely.
On this fine bank holiday Monday.
Yes, there was no carnival, but guess
Oh,
what?
please.
Whoever wants to rave will find a rave, yeah? So, that's how we do it. But please protect yourselves at all time and get yourself tested on a COVID test just to make sure that everything is all right and you're not spreading any extra love.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that being said, the important thing is whatever you do, go out there and do it safely. Yeah, wear a mask wherever you can in a crowded spot. Yeah. Now tonight we have a gentleman, Mr. Ziggy Moore, who is the proprietor, the founder of More Education, and
We've had Ziggy on before.
we've had Ziggy on before. But you know what? It's always good to bring him back because we want to talk about his school and the growth he's actually gone through, and how the pandemic has affected change. And this is one of the important things, is that a lot of us, as we always do, we're always able to adapt. So we're going to ask him about his adaptation, but most importantly, we're going to ask him about himself and More Education.
Indeed.
Welcome, Ziggy, on board.
Hello there. Good evening, Ziggy.
Good evening,
Good
Ziggy. How are you doing?
evening. I'm well. Thank you for inviting me on, Hugh and Lorraine. Hope you guys are doing well.
Not too bad at the moment. Not too bad as the weather looks. You know what I mean? Really dull, but we're just trying to stay positive and keep in that vibe as a bank holiday Monday.
Yeah,
Yes,
hard to stay
yes.
positive when you're thinking of the Caribbean in your head and you see the outside. It's like,
I'll reveal something to you off air, but yes.
Okay.
Okay, all right, okay.
Well,
That's
everybody, good evening again, and welcome to our lovely guest, Ziggy Moore, who is the Managing Director of More Education. And we are, again, happy to have you back with us, Ziggy, just to speak some more. And let's have that conversation because it is a big topic at the moment. What with the new academic year starting imminently. So it's a pleasure to have you back on, my dear.
Thank you for inviting me back on. And you've hit some key points, very specifically in regards to kind of the new term starting. And by the looks of things, this is going to be, well, we're hoping there will be no more interruptions for our students. However, over the last 18 months, students have missed nearly a full academic year of school. So I give the analogy, my son will be going into year 10. He has only really had one full year of learning.
Yeah.
So he entered in year 7. That's his first year. That was a full year. That was the real secondary school experience. His year 8 was interrupted. His year 9 was interrupted. So now he's going into year 10. He's only actually had one full year. So what we're finding with a lot of the students who we're seeing, especially over the last, probably since January, there are huge learning gaps.
Yeah.
Now, learning gaps are where children are the level they're expected to be at, the knowledge they're expected to have, that you're continually building through your educational kind of time, your time at school. The knowledge and skills are built upon. However, if you've missed a significant period of school, it's almost like you're trying to build, but you don't have the foundation blocks. And excuse me, a lot of our children don't.
Yeah, that's fine.
Excuse me.
Just take a minute. Take a
breather, man. Take a breather.
Yes. So it's actually quite scaring if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, what you're saying there, I mean, we are talking about not only the educational aspect of it, but the socialization, how young people
100%.
build relationships and understanding of how to work together. That aspect, while not being spoken about, intrinsically, but that's also an important part. Not the most important, but as you're saying, the gap of education and socialization in the school has been missing. So,
even sorry to interrupt, and you make a brilliant point, because even when we went to a local park and my son and I were playing football, and there were boys in his school who were the year 11s,
Yeah.
and we would have left. And I'm like, didn't they go to your school? He's like, I think so, yeah. And they were kind of all looking at each other like, you're in year 9. And I'm thinking, so I said to them, how comes you do go to the same school? Don't you recognize each other? They said, we haven't seen each other for 2 years because they've all been compartmentalized. So you have to stick within a year group bubble. So where you would know maybe your younger cousin might be 2 years below. You got a friend who's a year above.
That's all
Totally out of the way.
It hasn't happened. So the socialization aspect of what we know as school, those that they say your school years are the best years of your life. For many, many children, that's been wiped out. And now going back into September, they've got the added pressure of having to catch up.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's a very tentative time. It's very, very fit for young people, and they really, really are going to need our support.
Well, the thing is that is not only the case for the young people. It's for the teachers who then have to condense education, right, in order to get the young people to pass grades. And it's near impossible when you think of a classroom that already having difficulties with 30 children, and now you're going to try to condense everything as quickly as possible to get young people up to a standard, which is going to be near impossible to do.
I made a video recently on YouTube. I think it comes out on next week, Monday, and I didn't want it to seem like shameless self-promotion, but it was in essence saying it was highlighting the points that you've just said. Children now, the idea of extra tuition sometimes used to be kind of looked at as a luxury.
Yes.
If you're hoping for your children to achieve academic success, it's a must, simply because there is not enough time. It doesn't matter. I know some fantastic, outstanding teachers.
Yeah.
As you said, it is going to be near on impossible to be able to get all of that information and develop the skills to be ready for GCSE, to be ready for. So even if they change the exam system, you're still going to have to go on academically. So when you go on to A levels, you're going to be expected to know certain things. If you go on to a degree, if you go on to an apprenticeship, if you go on to a BTEC, whatever it is you go on to do, you're going to be expected to have a certain base foundation level of knowledge. If you don't have that, it's a very scary time moving forward for young people. And you're right, Hugh, the schools do not have the capacity to kind of get it done, if I'm going to be honest. They don't.
I mean, the reality is, I mean, for parents who don't understand, breaking it down, a child in a classroom in 1 week requires or gets 5 lessons of a particular subject. That is 1 week. You've missed out 2 years, 10 lessons. Now you are on the 3rd year, 15 lessons. So you need to, in that 1 week, get 15 lessons to catch up.
Exactly.
Think about that, because that's how the system works, is that when the teachers look at that, they say, okay, then you've missed out last week. So that is 5 lessons or 3 lessons of a particular subject. And then you need to catch up and look at when we're getting exams and so on. Then the young people have to then do twice as much. So Ziggy, this is where your service and services like yours are so important. So, we want to talk about what you provide, because we can see some of the problems, right? And we can speak about them.
Yeah.
But we also need to look at the solutions. And not only for the classroom, but for someone like you. So where I'm going to start off with,
we're really
we're gonna
unopen that conversation, unpack it all again. But for those viewers that may not know More Education or Ziggy, can you tell us? I'm going to do it on your behalf.
Yes, by all means.
Who are you?
Okay. My name is Ziggy Moore. I've been a teacher for over a decade. I've taught in schools in and around London. I trained as an English teacher. I'm trying to remember the year. I think it was 2016, I started a supplementary school. It was interesting. I had no intention to start a supplementary school, but I think it was somewhere ticking over in the back of my mind because I was fortunate enough to have benefited from supplementary schools and myself. I went to Claudia Jones' organization that was based in Stoke Newington. I also attended, and my mentor was a man from an amazing English teacher from the community called Decent Henry. He had a supplementary school on a Saturday for GCSE. So it was ticking away somewhere in the back of my mind. And I was teaching at a school in Enfield. And a lot of the students, many of the students were kind of coming to me kind of off air saying, do you offer tuition? We've never had a teacher kind of teach in your kind of way before. And I wasn't interested. And I think it generated enough. They persuaded me enough to kind of start some extra sessions. And that's how it started in a small community center in Edmond. I think we had maybe 5 or 6 students at the time. And we've slowly built up from there. This year was our first kind of full academic year online. We've had to transition online because of the pandemic. However, it's benefited us. We can now, as opposed to kind of working in quite a small geographic location, we've got students up and down the country, which is fantastic. This year, this GCSE year is the first year we've been able to achieve an 100% pass rate in English, maths, and science.
Wow.
So that's English.
Amazing.
Say that again.
Sorry, I got it wrong. English. So we do English language, English literature, and maths. So we achieved a 100% pass rate in all 3 of those. Traditionally, we get quite high, around kind of above 90 in all 3. But we were really proud, really proud of that.
And you said you started with between 5 and 6 pupil students. How many do you now have?
On roll last year, we had, I think it was around a 60 number. We had around 60 students last year at the end of the academic year. So yes,
600% growth.
we've had growth. We have had growth. It's been very difficult because I still teach full time. So kind of as it kind of started off as something on the side, it's actually developed where it needs my time and attention full time, 100%.
So I just want to go back. As they say, being transparent. This gentleman here, he saved our son in terms of schooling because we were at a really poor point where we didn't understand the nuances of the school, the system, and how the teachers were working. And it was through him that he gave our son the confidence to actually be the person that he is today. And so every step he takes, it started from the first steps of going through with Ziggy. And, sir, I will always respect you because you saved our son. We didn't realize just how badly things were at the school that he
disinterest,
attended.
And, our young people losing interest because they don't feel like they're getting the support that they require,
or the respect,
or the respect, or the understanding, even. So, on the personal side, we will always thank you. Every time we will have you on, we will always thank you.
Your name is a blessing in this house.
And I am sure there are many parents like ourselves that would be saying that to you. But again, congratulations on the numbers that you now have on roll. But tell me, what are your subjects that you have in place now?
So we specifically focus, I made a mistake earlier when I mentioned science. In fact, I got a bit excited. We specifically focus on...
so that's the plan of the future.
We focus on English and maths. The reason why we focus on those two subjects. And you mentioned it earlier, actually, inadvertently, where you said the curriculum in schools devotes the most amount of time to those subjects. Moving forward in regards to qualifications and GCSEs, those are your two most important subjects when moving on. So the first thing, if you're going to a college or you're going to a sixth form, the first thing they want to see is, what did you achieve in your English language and your maths? Did you achieve above a grade 6 if you want to, or that's a B in old language,
Right,
if you want to go on to do A levels? If you want to go on and do any other course, you have to achieve a minimum of a C, minimum. So that's for BTEC and other like apprentices and so on and so forth. So
what is a C? That is what
you've got a low C, which is a 4. Which is a 4, and you have a solid C, which is a 5. So we only count the 5s. We count 5s and above. Okay. Colleges do accept 4s, but more education, we don't want to hear the number 4. We don't want to hear the number 4 because
so there's a level of expectation.
That
you attain.
That's
and you
what you work towards.
That's what we're working towards, because we know what it's. Although we deal with children in secondary school from year 7 to 11, what coming from the community and understanding what the outcomes for our children are going to be. We have to set them up as best as possible. So I'm always thinking about, when you've left us, you go to college with that slip in your hand. What courses can you get on, and where are they going to take you?
Right.
That is because, as you say, I'm still in contact with a lot of our former students. I was on LinkedIn and I'm seeing students who have now graduated university, getting great jobs. I get messages from students who first year of university, just go into university. I know what the trajectory is.
Yes. That long term, not just now. It's fine to say, okay, it's a 5 or whatever, but you're looking long term, right? Okay, if I can get these students to this mark, that I know the trajectory that would set them on. Yeah,
100%.
That's one good way of thinking of it, actually, because I don't think we tend to look at it like that.
I think one of the things is that with Ziggy, he's actually looking at the baseline, which is the maths and English, to make sure that's a solid component for them to move on and look at their future. I think what we're missing out here, Ziggy, is that how you teach. What's unique about your teaching style? What is unique about you, more education?
I don't think it's just, and again, you kind of mentioned it earlier, which is the environment. Two things: expectations. The reality is, and it's interesting because I did an interview of some former students. We're going to post it on our YouTube channel in the near future. But it was really enlightening. I didn't expect to get these answers, but the word that came up time and time again was the expectations. When you have somebody who has not only high expectations, but the belief in you, and they infuse you with that belief, and they provide you with all of the support necessary. They were saying, like, they would take their homework for more education more seriously than they would take their homework for school, because they didn't want to let me down, they didn't want to let their peers down, and they didn't want to let themselves down, because they knew they were in an environment, not only just them, they were in an environment where everybody's working for the same goal. So you don't want to come on a whatever day it is, and we're saying, okay, this is what we're doing, and you've not done it, because it shows that and this is just, I'm kind of paraphrasing what a lot of the students were saying. It shows that, one of them said, you just can't come with that mentality. You have to shift it. And I think that's the key thing in creating that environment, creating an environment where we're here to support you, not just myself, all of our teachers. All of our teachers are here to support you. You have that connection with the teachers. We have that connection with the parents. You can call, you can discuss. It's not just school issues. whatever issues are happening, we have to be able to be there to support, to get the best out of the child, because we know without that kind of nurturing environment, without those very high expectations, which unfortunately many children, I'm realizing, I've known this as a teacher, many of our children don't experience that level of high expectations. We expect you. So whereas I say we don't look at fours, you're expected to go on to do A levels. You're expected to go on and do the equivalent A levels. This is what we expect, and this is how we're going to facilitate it for you. We constantly have the conversations. If I'm being honest, with a lot of students, that's not happening in school.
Yeah.
Now you see, now that's interesting that you're saying that, because then that's going to lead me on to say, well, in school, you do have children that say, "Oh, I can't cope." You know what I mean? It's very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
But yet here you are saying, actually, the children or the students actually say, "Okay, this is the level of expectation. I am okay with dealing with that." You know, so I'm wondering what is different from them coming to you to to learn and to get their grade, as opposed to them doing the same thing in a school environment in the classroom.
Again, I'm going to paraphrase from what the students have said and my own experience as a teacher. It's not the correct environment. As they said, you said earlier, it's not the correct learning environment. You can be in a class of 30 students, yeah? Out of those 30 students, even if we're being generous, let's say only half of them are there to learn and really push forward. If the other half aren't and they're messing around and it's kind of difficult to kind of see your own way, like where you're going. Remember, you're a teenager, so you want to fit in. It can be very, very, very difficult. It can be very, very difficult. Whereas if the environment is one where you're being nurtured consistently, where you know the people believe in you, where you know they've invested in you, it's kind of, it's difficult. Yeah, and you're being challenged. That's something else they said. When you know you're in that environment and I like to say, you can make a mistake, yeah, and know it's perfectly fine. You can say something. We all might giggle and laugh, but we can even build from that. We can build from that. We can look at it. It's about being in an environment where you're comfortable to make mistakes, because it's only through mistakes that you're going to learn, as we know, even from a business perspective.
Yes, of course.
Yes,
exactly.
absolutely.
So, so for me, can we say that there is an argument that we need to get back to smaller classrooms, or to completely change the whole way how our children are taught?
I personally think, and I've been saying this for a while, the model for school we have now, it's an antiquated model that's over 100 years old. You're facing forward, face to front at the board, dictatorial. It has evolved slightly, but it's still very much in that vein. Historically, it was created for a very specific reason, where you have like the top 5% go off and do certain jobs, and the 10% below that, and then you've got kind of your manual labor and so on and so forth. The world has changed so much that I don't think the idea of like 1,000 students going into a building 5 days a week, learning in that way is the way forward. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not.
Absolutely. I think
with the times.
I agree with you, because I've witnessed young people who have not been able to learn because they're sitting in the classroom and the information's getting at them, but they haven't got a system by which they can learn comfortably. So we've practiced giving them their headphones to listen to music, and the change you can actually see the change because they're able to write down. Doesn't work for everybody because everybody learns in a different way. Some young people cannot read in front of the computer. The reading on the computer doesn't work for them. Some can't read on paper.
Yeah.
So you've got to be able to adapt the classroom to meet the needs of the young people. But paramount to that is that learning environment where you are not judged because you made a mistake.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is that you can make the mistake and you have a teacher and pupils, your peers, who are not going to judge you and say, oh, you made that mistake. Yeah, you're dumb. It's all about you can make that mistake and you can all have a laugh about it and learn and move on. Yeah, making sure you correct that. You know, so I found from you is that when our son initially came back from learning with you, the change was almost immediate because for the first time he actually spoke about a teacher, although he was speaking about you as a teacher in the school, but we didn't know, you know, it was like there was many teachers in the school, but we didn't know exactly who Mr. Moore was. But when he actually came to your school, that's when we actually saw that he was standing up straight. He was actually paying attention.
Well, yeah, because there's somebody that's actually interested. Do you know what I mean? How they're learning, what they're learning, what other issues might be going on, and accepting them for them. Right? Accepting it. And that doesn't mean cutting corners or anything like that, but they can relate to somebody that looks like them. You know, for some people, that might be, oh, well, you know, has nothing to do with it. But it does, especially with our boy children as well. I think that it does have an effect. I don't know what do you think?
It has a huge effect. I have to accept that my learning experience was very different. I went to give you a bit of history. I went to a predominantly black school. Some people who are listening may be aware of it. It's called John Loughborough. And I went there in like I'm going to reveal my age now, but in the early 90s. And all of my teachers were black, all of them. And that kind of high expectation, positive learning environment is what I experienced, and I didn't realize because I was extremely privileged to be in that. When I was kicked out of primary school in essence. Yeah, I was a naughty, I was a very active young man, and I wasn't kicked out. They in essence they said one summer it was like, you know, I think you may need to find another environment for your son, because I spent more time outside of the headmaster's office. I had my own desk there. You with me? I'd get to school and I knew where I was going.
Didn't understand you. Didn't know how.
Yeah, it wasn't happening. It just wasn't. It wasn't happening. And
before that happens, how would you identify what was the issue there for you? Now that you've had time to reflect, what do you think that issue was for you?
I think the issue for me was I didn't feel accepted or welcome in the environment in which I was being taught. If I'm going to be 110% honest, I've always been, if I'm in a room, you know I'm there. I've never been very quiet. We found out much later that I suffered from dyspraxia. So I would walk into a room, which is sometimes called the clumsy disease. So and that's somewhere on the autistic spectrum. So I would walk into a room and trip over it. Sorry. And it's Ziggy's here again.
Become noticed straight away.
Yeah, become noticed, and I might want to talk to the person next to me. It's just not working.
Yeah.
You with me? It wasn't happening. So the decision was one of two. Was I going to be sent away to boarding school in Jamaica, which as mummy's baby, my mum begged, no, please. So she found this small independent school called John Loughborough, and my parents made the sacrifice to send me there. So they had a small junior school, year 5 and 6, and then a secondary school. And I was scared. because they were really strict, but it was an environment and a energy that I was used to. It's like like grandma can be serious, but she can be very loving at the same time.
Yes.
You with me? Like, you're not supposed to touch certain things and you don't do it, but then like if you do what you're supposed to do, yeah, if you do what you're supposed to do, you get like, she's always got like humbugs or some bold sweet somewhere, and it's an energy that resonated, and very recently I started. We've been recruiting some of our staff from Jamaica because we found that the level of training specifically for online learning is superior. They're fantastic in regards to, I don't think English teachers really transition brilliantly well, whereas I found in the Caribbean and specifically in Jamaica, they're a bit more hip to it, brilliantly engaging. And there's something about the tonation of when a teacher speaks in a Caribbean accent.
Yeah.
I've observed lessons. I've observed lessons where a teacher will say, "Excuse me, can you pay attention?" But straight away, something clicks and resonates with our children. And it's not to say I haven't seen teachers from other backgrounds work very well with our children. I know teachers from lots of different backgrounds, fantastic teachers, but I'm speaking specifically in what works and what resonates with our children and what have I seen. And this is what I have seen, my own experience from More Education. Some children have never, ever had a black teacher, never had a teacher who looks like them, never had a teacher who they can relate to in a certain way. You learn from people who you can relate to. You listen to people who you can relate to. That's basic human nature. There can be nothing that's criticized or seen about that. If you will listen and relate to somebody who you can have a personal relationship and connection with, if they look like you, it's going to be more instant. It's that simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you see, on the basis of you looking internationally for teachers, how does that translate in terms of other, not our own children, but our cousins? Because your school doesn't only deal with our young people, you have other young people as well.
Yes, they do. And because the level of professionalism is so high, and because it's that same environment, so one of the components we taught, interestingly enough, last year was a World and African History component, was like an add-on. And the student with the highest attendance was a young man of Turkish background. And he reveled in the World and African History lessons, because he said it gave him a much broader understanding of world history that he'd never been exposed to at school. And he said he was able to make connections that wouldn't have allowed him to make those connections at school. And he actually said he was studying history GCSE, and he said it helped him. So yes, we do have children from a range of different backgrounds, and because the learning environment is correct, because you have that nurturing and the same high expectations, we have the same outcomes and results.
Right, that's fantastic.
I
will just ask one more, then you can carry on. In terms of the online, because I know that's been a bit of a talking point throughout the pandemic about, some children are really not getting to grips with the online, feeling isolated, that kind of thing. How have you found through this period working with children, and how have you adapted, or how do you deliver your classes?
I didn't want to do it. I hated it. I had no experience of teaching. Before we transitioned online, I did not want to do it. I hate computers. I hate computers. I hate all this. I'm a complete Luddite. I like to connect. Be in the classroom. That's what I'm used to.
Yes.
That's what I've been doing for up to 10 years before that point. However, as a saying we say, as I said, things and times change. It changes, and you have to be able to adapt. And I've learned a lot from our teachers in Jamaica who are much more adept and much greater at using the online technology to engage.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have to be engaging, you have to be.
Yes.
You can't. And what it's exposing is a lot of, and even in myself, a lot of lazy teaching, because it's just you're teaching using a different medium, yeah, and you're going to have to now engage using a very different medium. That's all.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's for you to adapt.
Yeah, just give us an example of that, because I've heard that before as well. You know, some teachers have been found out because quite literally it's okay. I just stand in front of this screen, and the children are meant to be there, and that's it. I'm talking at them.
Absolutely.
And you know, so is that a thing? And how have you adapted? And what do you do within your school?
You've said it. You've said it. So firstly, what is your relationship like with the students? Yeah, the teachers who have been found out are the teachers who have very poor relationships with students. That's the first thing. Yeah? If you don't have a relationship with somebody, you can't engage them. Yeah, there are a number of different tools, so like Zoom and Google Meets, and that they've incorporated so many different things. Like you can do polls, you can do quizzes, you can do all of these. You can do lots and lots of different types of things. So one of the things that really helped was on Zoom, like you've got the chat facility. So you have some of the children who aren't going to be vocal, and in class they will sit in a class for a whole hour and not say anything. Yeah, you can give quotas. I can have a whole conversation with a student on the chat facility that I would never have had in class. They would say, "You're right, yes, sir." Yeah, because they don't want to ask a question. Yeah. So there are a number of different tools, number of different online platforms that provide like quizzes, as I said, polls, lots and lots of different ways to continually check: is the child engaged? Is the child involved? But the key is relationships. That's what was exposed. Most teachers have there are a lot of teachers. No, because I know so many fantastic teachers, and I know so many fantastic teachers, but there are a lot of them who who have been exposed, and they weren't ready for the transition. They weren't ready for the transition, and I know that online there's a level of skepticism within our community with the online thing. We prefer it physical. I prefer it. It's not happening. We're gonna have to we're gonna have to accept it and move on, because if we don't, it's like when you're harking back to the good old days. The good old days. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. It's over. It's over.
So I'm gonna ask you a question for you now.
Yes.
Are you ever gonna go back to the building?
No,
I've no reason.
This is the way forward, isn't it?
Yeah, I would be doing the students who we have in Liverpool, a disservice by saying we're going back to a building or a physical space. We'd love to do events in physical spaces. We want to do a More Education Awards ceremony. We want to do trips. We want to have guest speakers looking at a range of different things. So as we said, we've had a World and African History component. We had a Financial Intelligence component added to our courses.
Whoa. Financial Intelligence. What you try hide? What you hiding on your skill under the butcher? What's going on in here, sir? Now, Financial Intelligence. Because trust me, it's only the other day someone tell me, you can put some money in a bank account and you can have free bank account.
Tell me now. It's something I've always kind of been passionate about myself. And when you have your own, you can do what you want. So I can create a financial intelligence course for children, talking about just the basics, just the basics, and we can have discussions. We can look at things. We've been fortunate enough to have interviewed really successful Black business owners. Can't remember where I got that idea from, but it will come to me. Where we've interviewed Black business owners, where children get the opportunity to ask questions, really engage, because looking at the job market and looking at the future, we really have to make sure that our children are holistically prepared for life after school. Excuse me.
Yeah. Indeed, of course, because at the end of the day, this is the digital world. But be careful.
Take your time. There's a lot more words to come out.
Exactly. The digital world is where we are now, and as you quite rightly said, we have to prepare our children, you know what I mean, to be able to compete and be part of that as well.
You've used the word there, competitive. How competitive are our children going to be in the marketplace in the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years?
Yeah.
How competitive the support system and when we talk about the good old days, and I get I think about politics, economics, all of these things. The support system that this country had for years, your social care, your NHS, all of those kind of things are being pulled away.
All away.
Completely. We've had not to get political, but we've had a conservative government for 10 years. And they are about business, industry, and personal development. That's what they care about. That is the conservative mantra. So if you're not aligning or you're not thinking about that, it's about competition. If you're not competitive in the market, there's going to be nobody there to help you. The government's not going to be there to help you unless we are creating those support systems within our own community. So it's very important that we prepare our children to become competitive in the world in the future.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, it has been quite a time for everybody. All right, adapting. Do you know what I mean? Shifting in business as we, speaking to people every week. You know what I mean? Hearing them and how they've tried to shift their businesses and so on. So how do we, obviously, with the children, how do we then support and help our children, get more savvy digitally, and our parents as well?
Do you have courses for parents? Yes. I'm signing up.
That is something we've looked into. I think the first step is whether it's moreeducation.co.uk. You can check us out. Check out our Instagram at moreeducation01. We're doing free consultations with parents, having these conversations. But I think the first step, I deal with the younger generation. The first step is to understand, where does your child need to be in order to be competitive? Where does your child need to be in order to be competitive? Firstly, what do I need to do in order to get my child to that space? There's going to have to be some sacrifices made. So one of the things that has irked me, and I'm going to be 100% honest, and I am upset. I'm upset.
Go easy on us.
We've increased our. We used to be once a week. We were always once a week. However, when we realized the learning gaps many of the students had, as our staff sat down, teachers, and said that once a week is not going to be enough. We need twice a week, because by the time they come back, it's not enough to make up. To be able to make up how far back many of the students are. No problem, twice a week. A lot of parents, twice a week's a bit too much. I'm not sure. And the price has gone up. Don't get me wrong. It reflects the fact that we're now twice a week. However, when I look at extracurricular activities, football, basketball, so on and so forth, you have children who are doing football twice a week, 3 times a week. That's perfectly acceptable. To do a sport twice a week. The likelihood that a child will go on, and this isn't to dash anybody's dreams, yeah, to go on to be a professional athlete, an elite athlete, is slim. Yeah, the likelihood that your child is going to have to go out into the world and be competitive in the job market is highly likely. In order to be competitive in the job market, yeah, whether it's you go out into the job market and then you go on to create your own business or whatever it is, yeah, in order to do that, you're going to need good GCSEs. So within our community, and I can even speak to certain members of my own family, yeah, so that's how personal it gets. We're more than willing to invest in these dreams of professional sportsmanship, or becoming a professional athlete, which is extremely slim. And even when you do become one, that creates its own myriad of issues within itself.
You still haven't got the education.
Precisely.
To send your child 2, 3, I know people go here, there, this, that, this training, this, that, and the other. But to commit to twice a week, yeah, is a problem. Whether it be me, whether it be Explore Learn, Kumon, any other educational institution, yeah, if you're not willing to make that commitment, you're going to see, or we as a community are going to see the repercussions in 10 to 15 years because we're seeing a shift in the world at the moment.
Of course.
We're seeing a massive shift. Everybody's aware of it. Yeah. And if we are not remaining competitive on that level, I fear for many of our children. I fear for what their outcomes and life outcomes are going to be for many of our children. And it comes down to us as parents to really make this happen.
I think, at the end of the day, it's easy for, I don't know, a basketball coach or football coach or whatever to say, your child is brilliant. You know what I mean? I think they could make it. Yes, we're not saying that children who are brilliant, that want to take that route, that's fine. But what you must remember is even though they might get in at some point on that journey, they are still going to have to sit those GCSEs, those, you know what I mean? At some point, you have to come back to them. And the thing is, what we don't want is to create a world where we are now just looking at we're just only good enough for sport, right? And we're not getting into those engineering things, those
STEM, science, technology, engineering, and maths.
Those industries, which are the ones that we are still in the infancy, that our children need to really be in. So it is very important that we listen to the likes of yourself, and I am sure other teachers and are saying the same things.
And
to spend our time and money investing in our children's education, the maths, the English, the sciences.
And don't get me wrong, my daughter, she played rugby. She's passed her GCSEs, and she played rugby and netball, and I'm really enthusiastic, and I think extracurricular activities, especially sports and competitive sports, brings an amazing element to a lot of young people's lives. And I know it changes a lot of lives, so I don't want to be don't let him. My son boxing, he boxes, basketball, so on and so forth. I played football, no problem. I'm not being negative. However, what I'm saying is, for the future and where the future is, I've had a few conversations and podcasts where I've made the same point. I'm going to continue to make the same analogy every time I speak because it shocked me. Went into McDonald's probably about 2 months ago. First time in a while. Now, I remember when at McDonald's, you had like numerous people. You had maybe about 5 or 6 cashiers spread out and lots of different lines. It's not like that anymore. You have 2 cashiers and you order at a kiosk. I'm like, oh my goodness. You order at a kiosk, you get a ticket, you wait, and they call your number. Behind the tills, there's probably 2 people serving. There's probably 2 or 3 people round back flipping burgers and this, that, and the other. I remember when I was a child and I went to a McDonald's birthday, and you used to be able to go around back Yeah, that was a treat.
Yeah,
We'd be able to go around.
that's going back a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were so many
Yeah.
people. There were so many people doing different roles. So what that said to me, and just to kind of cut it short, it said the job market is changing. There were more delivery drivers in McDonald's than there were people buying food.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm saying to myself, rah. So when I was a youth and they used to say to me, if you don't get your GCSEs, you're going to work in McDonald's. Yeah. Because that was an entry-level job where you didn't need any qualifications. Yeah. Right now, McDonald's isn't even hiring like that.
No.
So if I don't take the education seriously and I leave, which we have to be honest, the national pass rate at GCSEs, maths and English, 5 GCSEs, hovers around 50%. Yeah. For black boys, it's less. It's for black Caribbean boys, it's somewhere anywhere between, let's say, between 40 and 45%. Black African boys, slightly higher at 45%. Our girls are higher. But we don't pass 50%, generally speaking. We don't, for an extended over a 5-year period. We there have been years where it's been better and a bit worse, but kind of if you average it over. So that means you've got a 50-50 chance of getting the qualifications needed to go on, to get onto a course that's going to put you in a good stead to provide or have a job that's going to be able to provide for you and your family. When I first was at university, and I remember, and I became a qualified teacher, a head of year was getting, head of department was on about 40 and change, 42, 40. I thought that was big money.
Yeah.
£43,000, big money. You live in London as an adult with a family on £40,000 or £40,000+ a year.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's a head of department, postgraduate at a school. So if that's the level of qualification, and we know where things are at, I'm really, really worried. If you're coming in and you don't have any qualification, there aren't going to be jobs available. There aren't going to be opportunities available. There's not going to be the support system, the social support system available to be able to support you. We used to have things like access courses. We used to have lots of different things, kind of that safety net where, okay, if you didn't get it on the first chance, you can get on it.
You get it on the, that's right. That's
you can get on it.
Yeah.
Different accesses and different paths into education to be able to create a better life for yourself. Those things are slowly being eroded from our society.
Absolutely. And one of the other things is that we don't speak about is that the connection we have in different elements of society as a whole. For instance, we may have somebody right now, we may have Ziggy Moore, who's ahead of his school. But if we haven't got those people 15 years time, then no one's going to progress, because there's no one, you haven't got the qualifications, you haven't got somebody who knows you, who can support you to say, okay, then maybe I can give you a job part-time, you can do this until you get your qualification, then we can see where we go. The progression ends because we haven't got anyone to actually help to progress to the next level, because it's also about who you know.
Yeah. 100%.
We cannot avoid that. The who you know, if we don't have people constantly growing and developing to ensure that the ones coming behind can say, oh, I know that man, maybe he can, then we're going to really be out of the game totally.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, having said that, Ziggy, are you finding now that in your profession now, having the supplementary school, are you finding that there is a greater demand now? Do you see more students coming to you from all around the country?
We are as we work on from the business side, as we are understanding about sales, marketing, and so on and so forth, and we do develop and become bigger, we are getting many, many more inquiries from up and down the country, really from up and down the country. And the main thing we're hearing and what we're seeing, so once we enroll students, they take an assessment, and that assessment tells us where they are. And we're hearing from worried parents who know their children are behind, and when they take the assessment, we can see they're behind. And it's and those are the parents who have made the call.
Okay.
So we don't know I, I'm I,
So
I'm
The door's wide
yeah, it's
open, baby.
wide open. So, all right. So if a parent is listening now, thinking, do you know what, I really do need your service. What you said has resonated with me, and I
Mhm.
know the new academic year is starting. What is the process if a parent really does want to come on board with
Two
what you
things.
just
So what the normal process is you would go onto our website, you'd book a consultation, you'd book a time, you'd answer a few questions, and we'd sit down. What I like to do is I like to sit down, have a conversation before we do anything. We'll sit down. 9 times out of 10, it will kind of be with me, and we'll sit down and have a conversation about your child, about where they're at, and whether if we are even the best solution, because we're not a one size fits all. We can't
Yeah,
help everybody.
yeah.
And if we can't, I can kind of point you in the right direction. For people who are interested, if you go on to we're actually having an open day next week,
Ah, brilliant.
Monday. We're having an
That
open
is
day
very
next week, Monday, where you can it's going to be a Zoom session. We're going to put it out there. I think we should have it ready by this evening or tomorrow, and we'll start pushing that. Where you can come, we'll give you we'll give you all of the details, all of the information. You come and have a chat, find out what we're about, ask
yeah.
some questions, as you
And
would
that's
do with a
next week,
normal
is it?
school. That's
Next
next
Monday?
week, Monday. I
Next
think
week Monday.
I
That's
think it's
six.
8:30. So we might slightly clash with you, unfortunately.
Yeah,
That's all
Um,
right.
that's not matter.
Education. People can watch what we do later. Don't worry about that.
yeah. So I think at the moment, for parents who aren't sure, you can we'll have all of those details by tomorrow on our Instagram. So you can join our Instagram at More Education 01. We'll also be posting in many different kind of family groups, parent groups. So you can join our open day. We can come and find out kind of what's happening, what we're doing, or you
Yeah,
can book in a session with us. You jump on our website, moreeducation.co.uk, and
yeah.
we'll sit down and have an honest discussion about how we can kind of support your child. That's what we're doing. We're not here to kind of take and
Yeah,
book in. No. Before we do any of that, let's have a real honest conversation of because it might just be, you know what, you don't even need our services.
yeah. So, but
But
it's just
you
having that initial conversation
but
first.
you have somebody who you can have a conversation with, who can be honest, an educational professional who outside of a school setting, who you can have an honest conversation with.
That is fabulous. I think one of the things that I've always found out is that when people have dialogue, open dialogue, there's more
Yes.
understanding. And what I'm saying to the parents out there is that we will be putting down all that information that you require to get in touch with Ziggy and his team so that you can get the support you need. But the first thing is this: prioritize your children's education. Yeah? The trainers and all the other things, they don't matter, because all that really does matter is the education of your children to get the grades to make themselves better in where they want to go. Without that, there are other underlying issues that happen when a child doesn't have the correct support or
Yeah,
education. And that leads to other things that we
yeah,
don't necessarily want to talk about
exactly.
here.
And as Ziggy mentioned earlier, and we're going to say this again, the supplementary school has grown exponentially across the country. I believe it is
Mhm.
across the country. Or we gone international?
Yeah,
Gone
nationally we are national. We are national. Yep, national.
national now. So that's grown, and not only that, that the pass rate of 100% in all the areas: English, maths,
Maths,
and
literature, English
English.
literature, English language, and maths. So those three GCSEs.
And those are obviously the ones
Are the
that
core.
the core subjects that
Yeah.
will require your child to progress further. You know what I mean, in the things that they want to do later on in life. So we would implore you. The information is below. If you have been watching, or even if you're not watching now, and you are watching again later on, all the information is here, which I've been sharing all evening. But we will also share it again, all that all the different ways how you can get in contact with Ziggy and his team.
And ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen, please don't think it's too late. just make that call, because that's all that matters. Just make that call, open dialogue. That's all. And then from there on, anything can happen. But if you don't open dialogue, you're on your own.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't want you to be on your own. We want you to go to the right kind of people. And Ziggy will put you through to the right people as best as he can.
And remember, we're building legacies.
Yes.
We're building legacies for our children.
Yes.
Our children are our legacies. And the gentleman that we are here with this evening is, one of many that will be able to, help you and point you in the right direction to getting your child on the right track and feeling confident and happy in learning.
So I think I'll be cut short and say, Ziggy, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind?
Oh, that's a very, very, very good question. Legacy I would like to leave behind. I would like to leave behind a trail of students who are confident and can go into any situation, with a sense of self-confidence and self-belief, because we know with confidence you've won before you even started. So even in an exam setting, one of the key things is when you're confident and you're sitting down at that exam because you've studied it, you know it, you're in the right mindset. When you're going into an interview and you're confident, you've been given that sense of confidence. When you're going into a new job, that's where a lot of us kind of begin to have issues. This has effect on our mental health, effect on our progression in life, our belief in ourselves and our confidence. And that's what we try and give our children, that true belief. I want to see in 10 years, that was a student. Oh, him. And he says, yes, I was a student of more education. I was a student of more education. I was a student of more education, where you're seeing specific people in specific places. And you can almost look at that person and say, I wonder if, and he says, yes, I was a student of more education. That's it. I personally don't want any personal accolades, anything. That I want it to be almost a badge of honor that I was a student of more education, and this is the position I am in now. And it's not about going to get jobs and this, that, and the other. It's about being in a position where whatever situation you're in, you're confident and you speak with a sense of confidence and self-belief.
And prepared.
Wonderful. That's what we like. And finally, I would say, what advice would you give to any one of our parents or business people listening in this evening, and obviously going back and watching the video?
Business people, from a business perspective, get your systems in place, get the right people there. Don't be scared of computers. You have to get those systems in place. Be willing to pay for the right information. And it's the same thing for parents. Be willing to pay for the correct information. It's not going to happen for free. There's a reason why the best educational institutions charge more than others. There's a reason why the best coaches or the best anybody in the industry. We've got to kind of get out of that mentality of getting things for free, because those days are done. From a business perspective, you can't cut corners, and from a personal perspective, you can't cut corners. I've tried both, and they never work.
Exactly. Well, no, it's been a pleasure.
It's been absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me on. I appreciate it.
No, it's been wonderful, and we just, want you to continue going from strength to strength. I have no doubt, we have no doubt whatsoever that you are going to attain and achieve the goals that you have set for yourself. And I am sure there will be that vision of many students, nationally and internationally, will be, as you said, saying, I was a student of more education. And we will be right there to support you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So thank you once again, Ziggy, for being with us this evening. Okay, stay in touch. Any new things that are coming on board, let us know.
Get in touch with us. Let us know.
We'll be sharing with everyone, obviously, what is taking place, that you have your open day next week. But as
Yep.
and when we get
The
further details
information,
from you,
we will share that
we will put that up
onto
for
this link.
any prospective parents.
Thank you very much. Much
Okay.
appreciated.
Thank you again, my dear.
Have a blessed evening.
Blessings.
Take care.
You
Take care. All
Bye bye
right.
now.
Bye bye. Take care.
Bye bye.
Well, ladies
Ah.
and gentlemen,
Amazing man. Amazing man. What he's doing there for our parents and for our children. I think he's actually saved quite a lot of them really, and showing that we have a new way. We've got to get used to this new way of learning. You know.
you know what? When you actually talk to Ziggy and you realise just what has been put in place and how he has grown as a business owner to make that transition, to change something that he's not very comfortable with, but to look at it and to actually look in depth as to what kind of teaching he was providing and who he had to divide, who he had to identify to get them to come and do the lessons for the young people. I commend that man and his team, because it's really great that they can actually do something like that.
So we'll share the information
We'll
with
share
it, when we get more from Ziggy. But it's going to be a little bit of a busy week this week for Black Business Recommendation.
Absolutely. I've just got to say to you all that on the 3rd of September, we will be with Property Pillars, who we have partnered with to look at getting you all into the property market and looking at, not just those who have all the money, but those who need the support and who can join property market. They literally have, I think it is about 2,000 or 3,000 members who are actively buying, selling property, and who are willing to help you to develop your property portfolio, or if you just want to buy a house for yourself. So
join us.
We'll
be there.
We'll be there on the 3rd of September.
6:30 at the Pullman Hotel.
And
the details are below. As you can see, it'll be at the Pullman Hotel, 100 to 110 Euston Road, and that's London NW1 2AJ. So if you are able to join us and you want to learn a little bit more about the property market, listen, I think right now is the best time to to find out about property from how things are going. So if you are able to join us, do so. Please do so. We look forward to meeting hopefully some of our members down there as well. Okay, so if you can make it, that'd be great. We look forward to seeing you there.
Also next week.
And
on Monday.
On Saturday, the launch as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, of Jerk Spice will be there as well. So anyone that knows Jerk Spice, who we done a small interview intro on Saturday.
They're having their launch as well, right? So that's very important. So
they're opening the hair section. People that may know or may not know, they do have a food shop which is
next door, adjacent,
which has been there for quite some time. So they've now purchased the building next door to it, and they will be supplying and stocking all hair and beauty products, and also so it will have a salon at the back as well as the barbers. So it looks like they're going from strength to strength,
and that's at Chingford Mount.
Chingford Mount. So they'll be having their launch this Saturday. Okay, so if you are able to attend, please do find your way down there. And again, we will share that information with you. All right. And then on Monday, I told you it's packed.
We're going to need a breather.
I'm telling you.
Right? We are meeting with Mr. Asari St. Hill. Now, he's a business advisor, basically. And he's just received a 10-year award. For
all of his
services in the business community. So we are going to be talking to him about the kind of provisions that he provides, the expertise that he provides, and we're looking at a partnership with him to ensure that we can provide you with the correct training. So you know what? it's been a long time, but we're getting to the point where we are giving you all the things necessary to develop your skills, develop your business, and develop your awareness of what's going on. So just keep an eye out for the group, and look out for us on the YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and subscribe. We need to learn that. subscribe.
Yeah? Okay. We, obviously, this is where we do put our lives, and if you have missed it at all today, then you are able to connect and rewatch there, as well as in the BBR Facebook group as well. But once again, guys, it's been a fantastic evening. Again, thank you to Mr. Moore from More Education for being with us this evening, talking about his wonderful supplementary school, and it is one of the largest supplementary schools, black owned in the UK, and we are very proud that he was able to share those details with us as to what he does and how the school is developing and is now national. And also, as well, how they will be able to, you can contact them again. I'm going to put the information there again. If you want to find out a little bit more, you can pop over to the website, which is www.moreeducation.co.uk. All right, or you can contact him at moreeducation01
gmail.com and 07377 So those are the ways to get in touch. But remember, you can actually 060. So you can actually find all the information on our on the chat. So they will be there for you. So we'll see you soon. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you all. Well, number one on Friday and on Saturday. All right. You take care, everyone. Have a blessed week. Bye bye now. Bye bye.